Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Financial Juneteenth and the Black Wealth Bootcamp. Um, I had a quick thought that really just hit me like a thunderstorm. And as you know, I like to teach, I like to share. And you can forgive me for the way I look. I was actually almost done. I had my sleeves rolled up and I was working on stuff getting ready for the boot camp and also some other stuff that I have going on each day. And I had this thought that I had to share this with you, and I don't know if you can identify with this or not, but I wanted to throw it out there. Um, have you ever gone to work every day and you work, let's say you're working for a business. Most of us as black people have worked for a white person at some point. In fact, Claude Anderson often talks about the fact that after slavery, I think he says 98% of all black people worked for a white person, and 150 years later, 98% of all black people work for a white person. So most of us have worked for a white business or a white person at some point. Nothing against white people, but we're often more comfortable working for ourselves. Not all the time, but most of the time. At the very least, you're more likely to be judged based on your skill as opposed to the color of your skin. Have you ever gone to work each day and literally felt like you were walking into a freaking war zone? Like, have you ever just felt that going to work was like you had to be ready for battle? Like you had to watch your back. You couldn't trust anybody. You have to constantly be ready for these attacks. You feel like you have a chip on your shoulder. You feel like you're always under threat. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what people are saying about you. You're always just kind of worried and on edge because you feel like you can relax at home, but you may not feel like you can really relax on the job. For example, a lot of us will go to parties. And you probably heard this where they tell you, like, look, the white folks can go to the party and get drunk, but you don't do that. Because if your black butt does that, you will be fired. Your black ass will be on the unemployment line, and everybody else will get a pass. I don't know about you, but I've seen so many examples of that. So many situations where we've accepted a racial double standard. We've accepted this idea that because we are guests in someone else's home, so to speak, we have to be on our P's and Q's, on our toes, watching our back constantly, and really completely aware of making sure that we don't do anything that gets us identified in a way that's going to cause us to lose opportunities. Um, Here's what I figured out. It ain't supposed to be that way. Going to work is not supposed to be a war zone. It shouldn't be because that's stressful. I mean, they have soldiers that get post traumatic stress disorder because they're going into war zones. Now, not to say that this is as bad as what a soldier goes through. No comparison there. Not entirely. But it's not healthy for you to go into situations that stress you out so much that you can't even sleep at night, that your stomach is twisting up, you're nervous, you just don't feel like you can go to a place and truly bond, truly connect. And a lot of us feel that way in a lot of institutions. I mean, I remember going to college. I went to the University of Kentucky for undergrad, and I was a good student. I mean, I killed it. I mean, I'm just telling you the truth. I mean, I got a triple major in 4 years. I got two bachelor's degrees. My GPA was really high, like 3.9 something, and I just murdered the game because I wanted to be the best. But I remember always feeling like I was fighting. I remember always feeling like I was at battle. And for good reason, because there was so much racism. Racism from the teachers, racism from the other students. I didn't feel like I connected to my environment. I didn't, I don't, I like, I only dated black women my whole life. Nothing against other people, but I just think black women are the most beautiful women on the planet, and that's all I've ever been interested in, really. I did date a white girl once when I was 15, but for about a week until her father forbade her from dating a black man. That's a story I'll tell you guys about later. It was a long time ago, but broke my heart, made me sad. But but beyond that, no. So in college, I never felt connected. I don't feel like a lot of people feel when they reflect on their college experience. People are like, oh, we had so much fun. Remember when such and such happened in the dorm? I don't really have those kinds of feelings, those kinds of memories. I had a few friends that I made, but I don't give money to my school because I don't care about my school. I don't connect to that. I give money to HBCUs. In fact, I've adopted Clark Atlanta University. as one of my HBCUs, and um, as well as Simmons College in Kentucky. Those are two schools that I've adopted. You know, my alma maters. I don't feel like I was a part of that, and I think a lot of us feel that way. We might feel disconnected, we might feel under threat, we might feel constantly under duress, and we're certainly under stress and under pressure to kind of fit into a norm that was just designed by by somebody else. So one of the reasons that I came up with the idea of the Black Wealth Bootcamp is to really talk about how I was able to get away from that. I was able to get away from the corporate plantation and literally build my own economic lifeboat. So that when I jump ship, I wouldn't just be jumping in the water. I would be jumping onto a boat that was sturdy enough to sustain me and sustain my family. And it wasn't easy. It was a difficult process, but it worked out really well because not only did I end up making more money, but in having a flexible schedule, having less pressure, but I also just had so many psychological benefits beyond that that I can't put you can't certainly can't put a price tag on it. And there's just nothing better than knowing that you're able to develop your own economic institutions that can employ other people and build up the lives of other people. And so that's really what I want to say is I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm not telling you that you should hate your corporate job or that you should quit. I'm saying you should listen to your soul. Listening to your soul means that if you know a situation ain't right for you, like a bad relationship, if you know you ain't supposed to be there, there is a better way. There is another place you can go. There are more fish in the sea. And so don't think that because you were raised to believe that you should work hard, go to school, and so you can get a good job. Don't believe that because that's the model you were taught that that's the only model that there is. So that's kind of what we talk about in the Black Wealth Boot Camp. I am all about feeding the inner runaway slave that exists in all of us, where we just say, you know what, man, screw this. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to be treated this way. I didn't. I'm a good person. I'm a hardworking person. I studied hard. I'm good at what I do. I'm committed. I'm loyal. All these things. So why have I been ostracized? Why have I been marginalized? And so many of us get marginalized. When I was in academia, I noticed, for example, they would put most of the black faculty at Syracuse University where I used to teach. They would put most of the black professors in like African American studies and stuff like that, as opposed to making them part of the main campus. African American studies professors didn't usually have a say in how the whole campus was run. It was almost like there was this little academic ghetto that they would put them in and say, okay, that's where we want you people to go. But when you went to say the business school and schools of engineering and stuff like that, there weren't nearly as many black faculty, and if they were there, they didn't have much power. Um, Maybe a few exceptions, but for the most part, none. Especially no collective groups where you can really make that influence. In corporate America, same thing. A lot of us may get marginalized and put in scenarios where we're not able to shape the direction and the trajectory of the organization within which we operate. Again, there are some exceptions, but typically even those exceptions tend to come with heavy doses of major assimilation. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. I'm not saying that people should feel bad about the lives that they live. I just want you to know that there is always a better way. And once I got over the fear I had of going on my own and being my own man, doing my own thing, and I hit the point of no return, because just so you know, because of these things that I do on the web and on CNN and all that, I've been kind of labeled. I mean, there are a lot of universities that won't hire me. I applied for a job once and at a school that wasn't even that great, and they loved me. They it was funny. They gave me the whole line like we don't have any black professors here because we can't find any. It was actually, I'll just tell you, it was Morehouse, not Morehouse. Sorry, I didn't mean to say Morehouse. I meant to say Morehead State University in Kentucky, and I'd applied there for a job maybe like a decade ago because my daughter was in college and I wanted to be near my daughter. And at first they thought I was great. They literally didn't have one single African American male professor on the entire campus. So again, that's another way that we get insulted consistently. They will not hire a single black person and say, "Well, we've looked everywhere and we just can't find any qualified black people." What does that really say about you? What does that say about how they think about you or what they think about you, right? They're basically saying that we've searched the whole world high and low and we can't find one single black person qualified to do this job that's being done by thousands of white people. That's an insult. That's racist right there. That's white supremacy 101. That white people can do all these things really well, but there's not a black person on the planet who can do the same job at the same level. That's insane. That's the kind of mental illness that racism breeds. And I remember I did the interview, and I don't even mind saying the name of the school now. I mean, school, it was years ago. Um, and yeah, and they were like, "Oh my God, your resume is so good." And I was like, "Yeah, I know it's good. I know I went to one of the best schools in the world. I studied from some of the best scholars in the world, and I was at the top of my class. I was very, very good at what I did." And in fact, most of the faculty that would have been in my department, their resumes were not where mine was. In fact, my dissertation chair would have been incredibly upset to know that I was even thinking about working at a place like Moorhead State University, because he wanted us at higher level schools, like maybe a Big Ten type schools, Michigan and up, stuff like that. So I thought I was going to get the job. Well, they went and they Googled me, and I think I had been speaking out on behalf of black males, or on behalf of Heather Ellis, the black female college student in Missouri. They were going to send to prison for cutting in line at a Walmart. It was about 2009. You can Google this. Her name's Heather Ellis, and we held a rally and a protest. But these little activities had identified me as kind of like the troublemaking black man. And literally, after they looked me up, suddenly their interest went from "we love you, we're so excited, we've never seen anything like you" to "oh, you're not, we don't think you'd be a good fit for our department." And it's funny because they don't even have to give you an answer. And it's true in a lot of industries. A lot of industries, when you're discriminated against racially, there's no accountability. There's almost no recourse in many cases. When I go speak in a lot of corporations, almost all the time, inevitably, I'll give a speech to everyone, and then the black employees will pull me to the side and they'll say, "Dr. Watkins, we got to tell you what they're doing to us on this job, how they're treating us." And on one hand, I empathize entirely. I mean, they shouldn't be treating you that way. But on the other hand, we have to think about the fact that that's not our business. We don't own that company. That's somebody else's business. You're living in somebody else's house. And when you live in somebody else's house, they're not going to let you come in and move around the furniture. They're not going to let you come in and make the rules. They might put you in the basement and give you the leftover food after they feed their family. Their children will get the best bedroom. You're going to be on the couch. And that's just a fundamental rule. And the fact of the matter as well is that you will get even less respect if they know that you need them, if you depend on them, if you have no other options. You don't have your own house because you spent all the time you could have spent building your own house, you spent that time trying to live in somebody else's house. And that's what we do economically. We try to live in somebody else's economic house, and we get mad when they don't let us in, and then we get even madder when they let us in and make us sleep in the basement. And they're looking at us like, "Well, you should be glad to sleep in the basement on the couch because your punk butt is so weak." See, I'm trying not to cuss. That you are so weak that you can't even get a place to live. So I have no respect for you. Nobody respects somebody who is a freeloader. As a community, we are training our children to be economic freeloaders to a point. Doesn't mean there's no pride in working for other people. A lot of people work for other people. And I hear people email me and say, well, Dr. Boyce, it's not fair for you to tell black people to have their own businesses because white people, they work for other people their whole life and it's okay. And I'm like, yeah, that's because their ancestors built businesses that will sustain them when they won't want to go look for a job. So somebody has to be the builder. This is the last thing I'll tell you, then I'm gonna let you go. I read, I like to watch documentaries and stuff like that about history, not just Black history, but all kinds of history to understand how things got to be where they are. And sometimes I'll watch documentaries about like the Old West, when people went out west when it was really dangerous and there was nothing there. There was no infrastructure, no jobs, not even any food, and they would just decide among themselves that they want a better life. That, living here in New York or wherever, we're being persecuted. Let's go out west where there's free land and let's just build something. And I remember hearing the stories about the homesteaders, for example, in Oklahoma. And again, black people were excluded from those opportunities, by the way. We deserved a lot more than what we got, which is why reparations is necessary. But they would get there and they would just claim a plot of land and they would put up their shingle and start their business. In fact, it was so funny that they said people literally would go and claim the land, and they would form groups and say, okay, let's form a town, let's vote ourselves a mayor, let's put up our little businesses. Two guys started a bank. They didn't even have any money, and they didn't even have a place to keep the money except a pot. They had an iron pot, and they said, we're now a bank, and people started putting their money in the bank. If there was a guy who was a blacksmith who realized that there was more money in helping people with their teeth, so he said, "I'm a dentist." He put up a sign and said, "I'm a dentist," and and it's crazy. I mean, it's like the audacity of these people to just say, like, "This is what I am," but there was a pride and a dignity in that. This is what I am. This is what I have. Even if no one has given me anything, I'm claiming this. And many of these small businesses grew into multi-million, multi-billion dollar empires because you learn and you get better as you go along. You're not going to start the game at the top of the tree. You're not going to start the race at the finish line. You're going to start in a position where you're going to say, "Man, why am I even doing this? I'm not a real business person. I'm not as good as these other people. I can't make as much money as IBM and Walmart and Microsoft and all that." But you got to start somewhere. And so, what I say is that we need to start somewhere. We need a generation of people that will plant seeds, that will have the audacity to create and start and build things today that will be sustainable and will last into the next generation and beyond, so that our children and grandchildren won't have to go through the same stress that we go through. They won't have to go beg to live in somebody else's house so they can be put into the basement. That is why I created the Black Wealth Bootcamp, and that's why I am so big on pushing for black business ownership. If you're being mistreated in the situation you're in, just remember that there's always a better way, and the way you've done it is probably not the only way. If you want to know more about our Black Wealth Bootcamp, you can visit theblackwellthbootcamp.com. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Financial Juneteenth. Until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. And remember, you can do it. Peace.